Welcome, Impactful Parents. It's time for the Impactful Parenting Podcast, where I give you parenting tips and resources to make you a more impactful parent to your school-age child. I am your host, Kristina Campos. Them safe. When really, what we need to do is equip our kids with what they need to know to keep themselves safe. Because let's face it, we can't be there with them 100% of the time, and they need to learn to navigate this world on their own. So today we're going to talk about what you need to teach your child to keep them safe. Let's empower our kids, parents, because that is how we're going to be able to take action. Lesson number 1, teach your child to be aware of their surroundings. Now more than ever, kids are distracted by a world where they stare at a screen. Parents will teach their children to put the phone down when they drive, but many forget that you also have to teach your child to put the phone down when they're walking. Yeah, walking with your head down, looking down, and being distracted by the screen makes your child an easy target for profiling, mugging, kidnapping, and other offenses. So don't forget to teach them to pick their head up while they walk. Teach your child to walk with confidence and direction also. This is really important because when we walk with purpose and we are aware of our surroundings, you minimize your appeal to be threatened. Plus, don't just talk about walking with purpose and putting that phone away. You actually have to practice it with your child. Yeah, make them do it. They have to practice it. If you're just doing lip service, none of the things we're going to be talking about today is actually teaching your kid anything. Everything that we're doing today, we have to practice. So I make lesson 1 a game with my kids. I may go to the park and have them close their eyes and tell me what is around them right now. Impromptu. What do they remember seeing? Practice being observant of your surroundings. The next thing you want to teach your child is how to move out of reach. Now, I highly suggest putting your children in some sort of martial arts or self-defense class, if possible. However, if you can't enroll your child in that kind of extracurricular activity, at the very least, teach your child how to move out of reach when someone is trying to grab them. Kids used to do this naturally growing up because we used to play tag. However, nowadays, kids aren't doing that nearly as often. So this is something we have to put on our radar, parents. Whether you're role-playing an aggressive boyfriend or girlfriend, or a stranger trying to give your child candy, or just that good old game where you put your hands on top of mine, you try to slap the other person's hands on top of it to be the fastest. All these little games teach your child how to move away from people with intention. And teaching them how to step back is also important because having them use more than just their upper body to shy away, which is what a lot of kids do. They just push their body back, but their feet stay planted. No. We're trying to teach our kids how to step away and maybe even run away too. The next thing you want to teach your child is how to stay out of reach. So now that they got out of reach, how do you stay there? Again, tag is a great game for this. But just like lesson 2, kids need to practice this, staying out of reach stuff. So teach your child how to keep moving with intentionality and confidence. Role play being a kidnapper if you need to, but you can make this into a game. And for older children, role play a pushy boyfriend or girlfriend that won't take no for an answer. Because either way, your practice is continuous. You need to do this over their lifetime for different scenarios. Which brings me to lesson 4. Teach your child to say no and stop. Like really say no and stop. And I know a lot of you guys are saying, oh no, my kid says no to me all the time. Trust me. All right, but can they really say no and stop to strangers? Have your child practice holding their ground. Have them practice saying no and moving away. Teaching your child how to remove someone's hand off their body and step away is a huge lesson. And with this lesson, it's more than just learning how to say no and stop, but it also includes teaching your child the body language they need to accompany those words. No one's going to listen to your child if they're only saying no very weakly. No, don't do that. It's not convincing. Kids need to practice actually standing tall, standing confident, and saying with conviction, no, and make eye contact with their predators. Now, often parents make the mistake of teaching compliance. And I want to address this real quick because this is really important. A lot of parents teach, do what you're told, obey adults. But instead, we need to teach our kids how to have a voice respectfully. Respect for adults is important, but not at the cost of your child being a pushover. That is how predators target children. They pick kids that don't want to fight back. So let's look at lesson 5 you want to teach your child. And that is teach your child how to set boundaries for their physical and their mental well-being. So now we're teaching them how to create boundaries. Teach your child that boundaries are important. We can't be happy when we spread ourselves too thin, when we're trying to please everybody, or if we're worried about what others think. So with younger kids, practice saying, please stop, to peers and adults. And practice holding boundaries when someone is insisting and won't take no for an answer. Teach your child how to turn down invitations politely, but with assertion. And for older kids, we're going to practice saying, stop, or I'm going to leave. From an early age, praise your child for setting boundaries on their physical space and for their mental well-being. Lesson 6, teach your child to always announce where they are and get permission before they change their plan about going to anywhere else or with anyone else. So even when my children were little and I left the room, I had myself get into the habit of announcing where I was going. This is role modeling what I wanted my kids to do. And yeah, it's a little weird to announce if you're leaving the room to go to the bathroom. But in my household, that is what we do because we always tell people where we are. So as a young child, I make it a habit to announce their whereabouts that as my teenagers grew, it didn't feel weird anymore because that is just how we did things in the house. Even if you have an older child, teach them to announce where they are and always check in before changing their plans. Now, the next thing you want to teach your child is always to have a plan B. For younger children, this is going to be a discussion with you, the parent. What will you do if you get lost? What will you do if you're waiting for me? What will you do if you don't make the team? See, asking and starting to brainstorm, what would you do if this is going to happen, gives your child the idea that things may not always go as we thought, and plan B is going to be very reassuring for them. It shows them that, yeah, right, things may not always work out the way we wanted, but that's okay. Plan B is going to kick in. And I find that children who have a plan B are way more confident and way less traumatized when things don't go as planned. Now, for teenagers, plan B is even more important because we need to teach your child to have a plan B every time they leave the house, especially if they're going to go out to like a party or be social. Because every time they feel peer pressure, you want them to be able to have a creative and safe way out of that situation. Let's get to lesson 8. Teach your child to fight, scream, kick, and go crazy if someone tries to threaten them. This is a big one. Most kids get suppressed by adults who are up to no good because the adult says that, well, I'm going to hurt your family or I'm going to tell on you. And kids will suppress other kids because they make threats like, if you don't do what I want, the next time I'm going to make it worse. It doesn't really matter what kind of threat your child will receive. They need to know that the right course of action is to make a commotion and tell a trusted adult. Do not hide and give the predator more power. So teach your child that getting big is actually good. It is scary for any child to be threatened, but the threats are worse when a child doesn't know what to do and feels helpless to help themselves. So teach your child to take back their power by making a commotion. Now let's get a little into a different realm of protection, and that is online, because I get this all the time, especially with your older children, right? Suddenly, extra charges on your bill, suspicious emails are coming up, photos of half-naked people, a credit card being compromised, the computer has a virus, crying teenagers, damaged reputations. Oh my goodness, the things that can happen online are endless. So let's talk a little bit about how do predators bait your child. Lesson number 1. Online predators will pose as a child, your child's age, or a little bit older. This happens quite a lot. Whenever we meet somebody new online, we have no idea who is on the other side. These people are lying to your children because it's easy, and they can. Your child is vulnerable because kids feel invincible and trust too easily. So the predator will start off slow and manipulate your child by gaining trust before they start to ask anything that would set off a red flag. However, with time, your child trusts the relationship more and more. Now, the scariest thing about a stranger posing as a young person to manipulate children is that many of the predators acquire sexual images by deceit or even without the victim's consent. And that means that your child doesn't even realize that they're being used until it's too late. Another important fact is that most sexual exploitation threats come from people your child already knows. And I think this is a big misconception in the online world, because that means you can't take comfort in thinking your child is safe because they don't talk to strangers online. Because actually, the danger for strangers versus familiar people are quite the same. So have your child look out for clues, and it doesn't matter where or who it's coming from. Those red flags apply to everyone. Now, the second way that online predators bait your child is they get your child to click a link. Okay, we got to teach our kids, stop clicking links. This is phishing, and it's when an attacker sends a fraudulent email, a text, or a direct message to trick a person into giving out their personal information, or maybe to deploy some malicious software on a victim's electronic device. Your kid doesn't have to be dumb or naive or clueless to fall for this, okay? In fact, many people fall victim of phishing tactics because these manipulative messages look legit, like really legit. It might appear that the message came from a friend, even though it didn't. The attacker will pose as someone maybe that they know. The messages themselves are very professional looking. They have logos, they have manipulative language. They say things like, "I think you're in this video," and then have a link for you to click on. These emails and messages have words that spark kids' attention and interests and activates their emotions, whether that's excitement or fear or wonder. So, since kids act upon their emotions more easily than their logic, many kids don't even think twice before clicking the link, and then that's going to send them to a spiraling thing where possibly they just got hacked. Let's arm our kids. Tell them, don't click the links. The next thing predators do to bait children is they promise gifts. This tactic is used by sexual offenders, cyber bullies, and even big corporations. Your child will get an email, a text, or social media message offering them free products or services. And maybe they bait your child with free music downloads or discounts on their favorite purchases, free porn, or a very popular one, something to level up whatever game they like to play. Whatever they think that your child would like, that is what they're going to use. So the predators will ask your child to click a link or give their personal information to retrieve this free gift. And then the malware the predator installs when they click that link messes everything up. It tracks their actions. It could even access the device camera and take their personal information. Now, the fourth thing that online predators do to bait your child is that they're going to claim that they hacked you before they even did. Now, it could be true. Yeah, suppose your child has already given them personal information and have clicked that link. And in that case, the threat might be real. But other predators just pretend to have hacked the child's computer or their phone to blackmail the child for money. Maybe even for sexual photos, threats, or whatever the predator might want. Sometimes it's difficult to tell if a predator is lying or telling the truth because they already have gotten enough personal information from your child that it seems very believable. Then predators use that password maybe that they might have gotten as evidence to that this is a real threat. But the predator uses that hacking lie to pressure your child into doing more that they shouldn't. Let's get to number 5. Online predators bait your child by claiming to be a modeling agency. I know when I saw this one too, it blew my mind. But this tactic works more often than you would think because many kids dream of fame and the opportunity to be a model and money and acceptance. Teens especially love to hear that they are beautiful because deep down inside, they're very insecure. So the predator might ask for more photos from your child to build a modeling portfolio. They will flood your child with compliments and empty promises. And in the end, your child might give the predator even revealing photos or edit innocent photos to make them more sexually explicit. And that comes from the predator and sometimes even getting your child to do it. And lastly, online predators bait your child by taking the first step and then hoping your child will follow their lead. This tactic is very popular. The predator will encourage your child to reciprocate an act. And this tactic is oddly effective because the perpetrator gains your child's trust by doing the act first. So, for example, a predator may send a semi-nude photo over to your child and then ask for one in return. I will show you mine if you show me yours. And then the predator's requests usually start small and innocent. When there's no repercussions for the first act, then the predator makes another request and then another. Your child might get groomed for dangerous and illegal acts and they don't even realize that it's happening because the progression seems innocent. So remember that this is a tactic often used with predators, but not just them. Boyfriends and girlfriends in relationships too, as your child gets older. I will show me mine if you will show me yours is a common way to flirt and explore sexuality for kids. But what happens when that relationship ends? Teaching your child about this tactic and making them aware so they can identify it is very, very important. Now, how can parents prevent their child from becoming a target? Let's wrap it all up by what we can do besides teaching these very, very important rules. Number 1, the first thing I want to tell you is stop asking, at what age is the best time to give my child a phone? No. It's the wrong question, parents. It isn't about the age of your child that tells you about their readiness for your child to have a small computer in their pocket. Instead, look for your child's maturity. And when you, the parent, are also ready to start monitoring and teaching your child about that online world. I know 9-year-olds that can handle the responsibility of phones, and I know 16-year-olds that cannot. You must gauge your child's maturity to follow the rules and make good choices. And the first mistakes that many parents make is exposing their children to the online world before the child or the parent is ready. Now, the second thing you need to do is teach your child to screenshot and save anything that feels off. Tell your child to trust their gut and to not delete. Suppose blackmailing or cyberbullying occurs in the future. they'll have evidence. And in that case, you and your child will be grateful that they didn't delete anything. The third thing I want you to do is encourage your child to make all their social media accounts private. The fourth thing I want you to do is to use parental controls and monitoring tools to help filter inappropriate content, unsafe websites, malware links, and other destructive content. Now I get the question, what do you use, Kristina? I use a program called Qustodio. I don't even know if I'm saying it right. It's spelled Qustodio. I particularly like this one because there's a lot of different blocks that you can use, and it's a deterrent. Now, I want to make you a warning here, parents. These apps, these blocks, these parenting controls and monitoring tools, they are awesome, amazing, and you have to have one. But I also don't want you to rely on it. And that is the next mistake that many parents make. They think, oh, I got those blocks in there, so I don't have to address any of these issues about pornography or getting hacked or talking to strangers because all of that's blocked. Okay, hopefully it's all blocked. We as parents are doing what we can to block everything. But in reality, our kids are freaking smart. And they know how to disable things. They know how to work around stuff. So although you may have parental controls, and I want you to have them because they are a deterrent, and we want to make sure our kids know that that's not what we approve of, I don't want you to rely on it either. And I actually tell my teenagers just this. I say, look, I know you might be able to get around this, but I'm going to keep it on your phone because I need you to remember that every time you're trying to get around it to see something that maybe be inappropriate or is not a good idea, that it's actually an effort. They have to make a bad choice, make their choices hard. And that is what the parental controls should do. Now, the next thing you need to teach your child is that nothing is free. I don't know how many times I've seen kids fall victim of, oh, but it was free. Nothing is free. Encourage kids to ask themselves, what do they really want from me? It doesn't matter if it's somebody giving them a gift or anything online. Not everyone is a scammer, but it's important to teach kids to be cautious and not naive. They either think that they are invincible and this won't happen to me, or they don't see the danger. We don't want that. So we want to encourage our children to ask questions, be observant, and figure out what's the angle in this. And then lastly, I highly suggest giving your child a phone that doesn't have social media or internet access when they are younger, and especially if you can hold out as long as you possibly can. These phones that I recommend are awesome. There's different brands. I happen to endorse the phone company called Gab Wireless. They have phones that look just like smartphones, but they have no internet or social media access on them. Yes, you can play music. They look just like a normal phone would, so they don't get teased by their friends, but the access is not there. I love these phones. It's truly a safe device that you don't need to worry about having stuff like Qustodio on there because it takes it for you. If you are interested in having these for your child, I highly suggest you go check them out. And just for being here, I also can give you a discount. So if you go to gabwireless.com/promo/impactfulparent, you'll be able to get, yay, a little discount. They also have watches. If your kid isn't ready for a smartphone yet, get the watches. Those are awesome too. Now, parents, I know that safety is a really hard topic and it makes us nervous. But remember, it makes us nervous because we don't have a lot of control. We can't be around our kids 100% of the time. We can't protect them from the world. So the best thing that we can do is arm them with the tools they need to protect themselves. And isn't that what parenting is really all about anyway? Having them be prepared for the real world? So everything today, get to it, parents. It will definitely make you an impactful parent. Now you got this. I'm just here to help. Thank you for listening today. Remember to subscribe and share this podcast with a friend. And don't forget, the Impactful Parenting Podcast is an extension of the Impactful Parent community. Go to the Impactful Parent website and download the free Impactful Parent app so you don't miss a parenting tip that can help you and your family. Thanks for listening today. So go to theimpactfulparent.com and see you next episode.